Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist at Nutrien Ag Solutions, and I want to thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Now, I know that by the time this video is posted and live on the web early this morning on Monday, the storms will have gone through, but I want to give you a quick snapshot of what I was watching here about 5:30 my time, 6:30 your time this morning. This was the squall line as viewed from, this is lightning, so we can see that these storms this morning were producing around 20,000 lightning strikes per hour. And they pulled all the way from the panhandle of Florida here all the way up into parts of Virginia. And as these storms went racing through about 6:30 this morning, this was just a view here from our radar that takes us from about 4:30 through 6:30. The brief but extremely heavy rainfall with these storms as they came through, and multiple severe thunderstorm warnings and a couple of tornado warnings. The environment out ahead of this as we progress through the rest of this morning has very high helicity values. That tells us how much potential spin could be in these storms. So I would expect these storms as we progress through the early morning hours to continue to possibly be warned for tornadic circulations. Now further to the south, let me show you this. This is just going to go down here to the radar in Columbia, South Carolina. You can see right into this area, this region of enhanced convection, strong thunderstorms. What you don't see in this is that some of these storms are rotating. And if I take you down here just to the east of Hampton, do you see the storm cell right in through here? There's very strong rotation in these storms. So be careful early this morning as these storms go pulling through. Storm Prediction Center has been on top of this now for a few days. They've had this region highlighted as having potential for severe storms early this morning for a while now. So once you finally get through mid-morning, though, the threat will be gone as this presses on through, again, like I said, through mid-morning. So it's just early this morning that we're really concerned about it. Now, after this comes through and these tornado watches expire, what we're going to be dealing with after that is going to be some very strong winds on the backside of this system. And the air that is on the backside of this is cold. We actually have freeze warnings out for parts of Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And that tells you that what's coming in behind this is going to be quite nasty in terms of some colder weather, especially middle of this week, which I'm going to tell you about in a few moments. Through the Appalachian Mountains, though, we do have widespread flood warnings out for this area as we've had some very heavy rainfall pushing up against the mountains. So we've got a lot to be on the lookout for here. And what's got us into this very complex but very active pattern is this. You see this trough right here? This was on Saturday. That trough all of last week sat and just spun right over California, but it's been forced to eject out over the weekend on the strong subtropical jet stream flow here. We had great upper level support in parts of Mexico and Texas over the weekend, giving us these severe weather reports. So the storm system that came to us early this morning had a history of producing a lot of hail like you see here, and also several tornado reports on Sunday. First, take a look at this hail. Just getting up through early this morning on the 13th, each one of the swaths you see there on that map on the left represents where we were measuring hail bigger than 1/4 of an inch. And the picture you've been looking at over the right there, posted by Robert Luna over the weekend, was some of the hailstones that we saw right in through here move through Del Rio. And these were some pretty nasty storms. So you're getting the tail end of what's been now a 3-day severe weather outbreak. Now, something quick to talk about hail. Yes, that's real hail over there on the left. That is some up to softball size hail. But we oftentimes, whenever we have severe weather like this, get pictures like this that show up. This one was actually tweeted out and sent to the National Weather Service at San Antonio. But I'm going to tell you something. This particular piece of ice is not a hailstone. It's been floating around the internet for quite some time. If you see it, it's posted. For any of the storms around your area, just ignore it. It's fake. That's not a hailstone from the storms that went through this morning. And I'm also going to tell you this, later on this year as we progress over toward hurricane season, and remember, we are concerned about an elevated risk for more active hurricane season this year, given how warm the ocean temperatures are. You'll probably see when we get some flooding problems, pictures like this. This photoshopped shark has been around for several years now. For some reason, every time there's flooding along the Gulf Coast or the East Coast, it shows up again. Last time here on a freeway in Houston, it's also fake. So I just wanted to bring that out at the beginning of this video. Now, this is not fake. I just want to show you something really cool here before we get back into the severe storms. Quincy, thank you so much for posting this video for us. 5 inches of depth in terms of the hail here cooled the lowest 5 to 10 feet of the atmosphere in Texas over the weekend, giving us hail fog. It saturated the atmosphere, and that is a really, really cool thing to be able to see here. Well, by the time Sunday got here, this is the recipe for the severe weather outbreak we've seen on Sunday into early Monday morning. Broad trough here. jet streak, really fast winds there, pulls into a ridge with fast winds in it as well. This gives us outstanding upper level support yesterday right under where I put that X. When I talk about upper level support, I'm talking about this. So just to kind of give you a little bit of meteorology, not 101, but really meteorology 401 here, this is a map where each arrow represents upper level divergence. It tells me what's called the ageostrophic flow of the atmosphere. So this right in through here, if you notice, yesterday afternoon, great upper level support to allow the atmosphere to exhaust upward. This gives us rising motion, and when you combine that with convection or thunderstorms, we had a perfect scenario for the atmosphere allowing for the severe weather to develop. And these were the storms that just before the sunset last night were pushing through parts of Mississippi, and you can definitely see those overshooting tops indicating some powerful thunderstorms. So those are what moved through overnight and eventually hit us here in North and South Carolina. Now yesterday, those storms as they pulled through produced almost 400 reports of severe weather, and right down here in parts of Mississippi, this particular area was hit very hard with some powerful tornadoes. Now you can see the well-defined hook echo on this northern cell right in through here with the debris ball actually picked up by our radar. But again, like the storms this morning in South Carolina, the storm to the south was also circulating. Look at it here in the radial velocity. Very, very strong rotation in that storm as well. And not only the one in the northern here causing some major damage. We did get one picture from those, from Connor here, showing us how wide this particular tornado was. And this is what we call a wedge, and it did a lot of damage. We're going to wait to see as we let the National Weather Service work across the south and also over into the Carolinas to see what kind of damage we did get and if any of these ranked relatively high in the Enhanced Vegeta scale over the weekend. So, what is it adding to? It's adding to this. Through April 10th, this is where we've had all of our severe weather. And you can see the influence of the subtropical jet stream racing through this part of the country. Wherever those fastest winds are sitting, well, underneath it, that's where we have our best environment for severe weather. And so this has been a very active start to our severe weather season. And just to add to this more seasonal view of things, I want to show you some new data that came out midweek last week. The month of March, in terms of statewide average temperature ranks, right now for North and South Carolina hit 122 out of 126 years of record, Florida having its warmest March on record. In terms of precipitation, though, look, North Carolina was relatively dry compared to the surrounding states, with the exception of Florida, which was very, very dry. But when we look back March in the 3 previous months, so January, February, and March, this is what we get. Now, for North Carolina, it is the warmest January through March time period on record. And we see over here 107 out of 126 in terms of precipitation. Now, one thing that will be changing is this, and I'm going to get to that in just a few moments here, but we're seeing a big cool down coming behind the system that brought us this severe weather this morning on Monday. Total precipitation, this is what we got out of it so far. We'll be adding to this map here when the storms finally pull through here in the next hour or two into the eastern part of the state. But overall, these storms have had a history of putting down quite a bit of rainfall, some locally heavier amounts here to the east of over 3 inches. So prepare for that if you do get a chance to catch this video before the storms get there. I do anticipate this will increase the flood threat across the state, but here was a snapshot early this morning of where we're dealing with flooding across the United States, where our river gauges are measuring near or above flood stage. So where that rain just came through, a lot of flooding, and of course still dealing with flooding in the northern parts of the tributaries to the Mississippi and the Red River of the North, which drains into Lake Winnipeg, which goes to the north. So just a snapshot at U.S. flooding right here. But here's the leading edge of that colder air, and it will be getting us over to us in the Carolinas this week. And I'm worried mostly about Thursday morning for frost potential. We're going to talk about that in just a few moments. But just to show you, globally, the coldest place on Earth with respect to normal is the eastern 2/3 of North America. Over the next 5 days, a big ridge pushes into Alaska and into Greenland, and where that pinches the cold air off, it slinks right down here into the midsection of the United States and presses to the east. So, quick update here on what I'm expecting over the next 5 days. after Monday morning rain, after this morning's rain, we have a little bit of light rain to be dealing with on Tuesday, but then it's relatively drier until you get to the weekend. So the map you're looking at here is after this morning's rainfall all the way through Saturday morning. And so we're just going to be dealing with some light precipitation on Tuesday. But the main story is going to be what our temperatures are doing. They're going to be dropping off dramatically. And we're going to be seeing, I think, the coldest morning on Thursday. I'm going to get to that in just a few moments. So let's see this. This is the storm system as it pulled through. I'm going to pause it right here because that is early this afternoon. So what do we see? This is 9 a.m., 10, 11. The storms are already pushing off the coast by that time. And then after that, cooler air does start to pull in from the north and west, but we get a break from the precipitation. Now, as we get into the overnight hours on Monday into early Tuesday morning, this is now about 7 o'clock in the morning, getting through mid-morning, I'm going to be watching for some light scattered showers at this time, such that by Tuesday afternoon and evening, okay, Tuesday evening really, that's our next chance at bringing in some precipitation. Now that colder air that's coming in, look at the snow we're putting down in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, and possibly into the Tennessee, North Carolina border as we work our way into very early Tuesday morning. See it right there? Wednesday morning. But Tuesday evening showers into Wednesday morning showers right in through here. And this is the beginning of the colder air that I'm concerned about. Now, before I show you that cold air, I want to flip over to the European model and show you the evolution of this. So we're going to pause it right here on Wednesday morning. So there's that light rain that moves through. And as we get our way past Wednesday, we're going to notice, like I said, this is now Wednesday night, getting into Thursday morning, afternoon, and evening, getting into Friday morning, afternoon, and evening. Higher pressure dominates throughout the end of the week, and it will be drier, although cooler. When's our next chance of precipitation? It appears to be showing up Saturday morning, afternoon, and evening as another low pressure system forms here in the mid-Atlantic and pulls off the East Coast. So what's causing all this is just this broader trough that's sitting in this area throughout much of this week. Brings us the cooler weather and the unsettled weather toward the end of this weekend. So this is Saturday night getting into Sunday morning. Now, as we look out into early next week, we're going to watch another system pull out of Texas here. So this is Sunday afternoon and evening. Getting into early Monday morning, again, another chance at some precipitation that comes through next Monday morning into Monday afternoon and evening. So that's our near-term precipitation patterns. And just looking at it in terms of that snow threat, well, you can see the probability from the European model of getting some snow in the Appalachian Mountains is a real thing here as we look out over the next 7 days or so. Thinking about that snow, I just wanted to show you an interesting map I made. I went back and looked at data all the way up to from 2008 to 2019, and I was just curious how often it snows after April 15th. So in the Appalachian Mountains here, we can see that about 40% of the time here on the border of Tennessee and North Carolina, we do get some snow after April 15th. So just wanted to give you some statistics there to kind of put in the back of your mind. What's the pattern doing, though, to start next week? Well, it's highly amplified. See this? That highly amplified pattern tells us that the cooler weather that's going to be setting up shop over here on the eastern half of the country's got some legs to it. Might last for a little while. We do need to watch for more systems, though, rolling in off of California coming in like this. So what does this mean? With the strong subtropical branch of the jet stream still in place through the next couple of weeks, this is what week 2 precipitation patterns look like. I have the GFS ensemble on the left and the European on the right, and both of them are painting, for the reasons I just explained, this side of the United States on the wetter side of things into week 2 as well. So again, trough here, subtropical jet stream comes underneath it. That's where our strong jet stream winds are going to be, and therefore we're going to continue to see an elevated threat for heavier than normal or more than normal precipitation as we progress out into the 4th week of April. Now let's talk those temperatures, because this morning was quite warm. This is a new set of maps I'm making for you. What it does is in the numbers that are in bold and black there, they tell you what the actual low temperature is forecast by the National Digital Forecast Database. The colors tell you temperature anomalies. So Monday morning to Tuesday morning, you can already see the cooler air coming in. But the main storehouse of it is still tucked away back here, and it's on its way toward the Carolinas by Wednesday. So temperatures in the overnight hours on Tuesday, so early Tuesday morning, are now looking here to be in the upper 40s at times as you move across the western part of the state. This is Wednesday morning's lows. And from there, the coldest morning that I'm seeing is this one. It's Thursday morning, and we do need to be on the lookout. I cannot pin it down right now, but we need to be on the lookout here for our temperatures in the valleys to be bottoming out right about freezing. If there's any cloud cover that comes in at this time, though, don't worry about the frost. The cloud cover is going to keep things warmer than normal, but if it clears out and calms down, if those winds calm down, we will bottom out below freezing on Thursday. But again, it's going to take clear conditions and calm conditions to do this. Those two things we're going to have to watch for. Here's the probability from the GFS at getting a freezing temperature on Thursday morning, and you can see that the probability, well, look at this. This is 50 to 60%. So in this area and to the west, that's where we have our highest chances. But that's not that abnormal as you get up into those higher elevations this time of year. But I'm mostly concerned about Greensboro over to Raleigh, Durham, that area. Just be on the lookout early Thursday morning for some very cold temperatures. If clear, calm, low elevation, that would be your best chance at seeing them. After that, though, temperatures begin to moderate. Here's the low temperatures on Friday. Still cooler than average, but now we're back up near 40. And by the time we get into Saturday and Sunday, while it's still cooler than average toward the weekend, we do notice that our temperatures here are no longer going after that freezing mark. So where are we heading from there? Well, this is just a snapshot day 6 through 10. Remember, with that broader trough in place in this area, both the GFS and the European are painting the cooler pattern as we work our way out to about the 23rd of the month. And it seems to want to hang on, although there's a bit of moderation in the temperatures once we get fully into the 4th week of the month of April. And so we still see the cooler weather here, but it is moderating, returning us back over toward closer to normal. All right? The atmosphere has been advertising this since Friday that this was going to be the pattern. What about the time period after that? So let's go April 18th through May 18th. Again, that's April 18th through May 18th. During that time period, temperature pattern returns back over to normal to possibly at times warmer than normal. What are we looking at in terms of precipitation? The model is still just hanging on to this section of the United States being wetter than average. And even though we're going to get a bit of a lull in the strength of the subtropical jet stream at the end of the month, it doesn't seem to want to be going away as we progress into, fully into our springtime here into the early month of May. Now, look at it. We just need to take it with a grain of salt. These long-range models aren't perfect, but they've been painting this picture pretty consistently now for about 3 weeks. So let's keep an eye on it, because a wet start to this year is causing a lot of problems, especially across the whole of the South, getting crops in. From there, we'll take it quickly to South America. Southern Brazil's growing areas have been very dry as of late, and it's showing up now by looking at satellite. So this is a vegetation health index. So southern Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and then getting over into parts of Argentina, we can see that these numbers here are low on the spectrum, representing the plant health not looking that great from space. Those soil moisture anomalies from Mato Grosso down to Mato Grosso do Sul over here toward Paraná and Rio Grande do Sul are looking very, very dry as well. What are we anticipating over the next 10 days? Well, Brazil's northern growing areas here, the northern half of Mato Grosso, is actually looking quite wet over the next 10 days, which will be beneficial to the safrinha crop. But look, southern Brazil, getting over to Argentina, looking quite dry in the next 10 days. So just want to keep you aware of what's happening here in South America. And with that, I'll wrap this one up. I look forward to talking again next week. Hopefully we'll be pulling out of this cooler time period next chance we get to talk, and I hope we avoid the frost on Thursday morning. Talk to you then. Thank you.